Welcome to Beneath the Plates. I'm your host, Jared Elrod, aka the Iron Chaplain. Let's get this show started with our tradition here. Let's take a quick drink. Let me a comment. What are you drinking? What are you drinking as you hang out with me today in today's episode? All right. Well, today's episode is Origin Story Part 2. But I'm really going to be focusing on, there's a few gaps or a few things I want to dig into listening back to the first part. But also, I really want to focus and specifically talk today about modeling. And I don't mean modeling as in like taking your shirt off and posing for Calvin Klein. I mean modeling as in you have a goal you want to reach and you find someone who's already achieved that goal and you model them, which is just a more effective way of saying copying them. I say more effective because it's more than just copying them, because you have to translate and apply some things, but essentially copying what they did, but applying it then to your life. That's why it's modeling, not just copying, and how I use that to kind of get to where I am today and where I'm going to be, using that here in the future. So first off, a couple things I want to fill in. I want to talk a little bit about my time in Atwater, California. That's when I said I was 3:30. I was in California, and I started to get into fitness a little bit, and then we moved to Virginia, and it all fell apart. I basically, so as I said, as an entrepreneur, it is right around the time, at least from my perspective, so this would have been like 13, 14. CrossFit was starting to get more popular. You're starting to see funny CrossFit videos and stuff on the internet, online. And I was wanting to get in shape, and so I started walking just in jeans and my regular shoes. I had a buddy, Mike Doyle, who I think he was a CrossFitter, but he was in more shape, and he was considering at the time starting up like personal coaching kind of business. And so he pulled me in as his first client. I had no money, so it was basically he was doing it for free as like a test type thing. And so I told him, I said, okay, the only rule is you can't tell me to get a gym membership, and because I just literally didn't have a gym, have the extra money for that. So he starts, whatever, he's working with me. I'm walking every morning. At one point I was complaining about something. He's like, wait, are you walking in jeans? I'm like, yeah. He's like, no, you need like athletic shorts. So, I'm working with him. I pretty good results. I start to work on my eating a little bit, and at this time I was really researching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a lot. I don't know why I have a hard time saying that word. I really wanted to get into it, and I was in California. There were great gyms there, and I was looking at one. It was like $99 a month, and that was like a bajillion dollars, and I was dreaming about doing it, and I was just like, oh man, if I can just pick up a couple clients, and I could have some extra money, and I could do this jiu-jitsu, and I could get in shape. And so, again, I believe that most likely if I had not gone to Virginia, I like to think I would have kept on that path and would have eventually just, gotten into better shape and gotten more and more into it. I don't know, though. Maybe it would have fizzled out, or maybe I would have just done a low-level, like mediocre kind of something and just had mid-results. So I mentioned in Virginia, I felt like I was supposed to get in better shape. I didn't. Okay, so then fast forward in New York. I want to talk about this modeling a little bit because I really used kind of two techniques, modeling and then like kind of brainwashing. I had to like brainwash myself. I talked about that a little bit last week with, just watching Gary Vee eat salads and stuff. So I knew I needed to get in shape, and I for years, all throughout Virginia, I was trying to because I never ate salads. I was trying to teach myself to eat salads. I would get a little bit of salad when I go to food, all these things, and just nothing was really working. So when I try now in New York, I'm like, okay, stuff has not worked in the past. What am I going to do differently? And I knew that food was a big one, and obviously exercise was the other one. So really, and then I guess drugs is the third one, but like that wasn't even on the table. So I'm like, okay, I know myself well enough. I've tried enough diets. I know I can't start eating healthy food, and I'm definitely going to struggle with cutting out stuff. I talked about this in the last episode a little bit, so I started trying to just eat a little less. So this was my food basically progression is I spent like 3 months just thinking about and visualizing essentially eating healthier, watching people eat healthier, like the story of Gary Vee, eating salads and sushi and stuff. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, now let me start to I had to really change my relationship with food. Let me just cut out. I'm still gonna eat my same stuff. Let me cut some out. So I really worked on that for a process of several months before I could even get to the point of like, and again, this is not even that healthy, but like I got to the point where I could finally, like I was eating oatmeal and toast as a meal instead of like cereal or donuts, drinking the Ultra Zeros instead of regular Monsters. Just little hacks that helped, and that, they were helping and they were in the step in the right direction. That's probably, I still probably is my biggest hurdle is food. There's just a lot of healthy food I don't like, and there's a lot of unhealthy food that I absolutely want to marry and have a wonderful life with. So that is and still tends to be, sorry, I'm just in the mic here, a little bit of the struggle. Oh, now it doesn't look good. Sorry, I think I messed it up. Okay. So yeah, that was kind of that process. And then again, the fitness, I didn't have the desire. I had a huge fear of getting injured because I was so freaked out because I was 36 years old at the time. I'm 40. So I was like 36 years old and I was like, man, I should have started this. And literally I'd sit there and I'd start to think and I was like, I wish I did this when I was 26. I wish I did this. And I'd think back in Atwater when I was starting to get in better shape. And I would have been around 26 then. I probably was 27, 28, somewhere around 27, 28. I was like, I wish I had been doing it then, and I was 10 years younger, and now I'm 36. I'm, going to be 40 in a few years, and I'm going to end up hurting myself, and I'm going to then just cripple myself or something, have less mobility, have some shoulder injury or a knee injury. I'd seen this video of a guy who was leg pressing way too much and his knee went sideways. I was just terrified of hurting myself at the gym. And so finally, about the umpteenth time, that I had said, I wish I had started when I was 36. Then I had this revelation. I said, wait a minute. One day I'm going to be 66. Maybe. I don't know if I would have made it to 66 the way I was going. I'm going to be 66. I'm going to wish I started when I was 36. Because then I'm really going to be done. And Gary Vee talks about you're just old and you're done, right? I was like, I'm going to actually, fitness-wise, be done at 66. And be so, my health is going to be so bad that, I'm not even going to be able to really make good changes and stuff. I'm going to wish, cry myself to sleep wishing I started at 36. So that was a big unlock. So that was one. I wish I started at 26, but one day I'm going to wish I started at 36. So that wasn't an unlock. The other one, I won't go into too much. I talked about in the last episode about how I'm going to die. I'm not going to see my grandkids, or definitely not going to get to help raise my grandkids and know them and be an influence in their lives like my grandfathers were in my life. Specifically Grandpa I talked about, who, with the weightlifting and stuff. So those were two big ones. So I started just working on this mental process, trying to retrain my brain to yes, you want to do these things. I talked about walking the track, just listening to motivational videos, and how over a period of months that slowly started helping. By the way, that finally ended before we moved with one day I went out and I ran 10 miles straight. I was doing the 5, throughout the day, 2 before work, 3 after, or 3 before work, 2.5, right? I'd run before work, I'd run after work. One day I was out there at the track and I get to the 2-mile mark. I'm listening to audiobooks about long distance runners. I think it started with David Goggins. I'm listening to all these guys, and I get to the point where I'm like, I wonder if I could run 10 miles. That's more than double what I've ever done, because I would do 5 broken up over the day. So I'm running, and I just don't stop, and I just won't stop. I think my wife, she's with me. I think she ended up just walking home when she was done. I was like, I'm just going to keep going. So I'm running, and I ended up hurting my knee. I did not be able to run for quite a while after that. I still don't really run to this day. But I did the 10 miles, and I was like, I did it. My leg hurts. I can barely walk. I was super sore. Had knee shin splints. I ended up not being able to run for a long time after that because my knee was, every time I'd get to right about 2 miles, my knee would start to hurt really bad. But I'm I did it. If I can do that, what else can I do? So I decided to use a technique I learned back as an entrepreneur, which is modeling. And I was I need to find someone to model my fitness journey afterwards. Sorry, this mic keeps turning down. One of the things I was really focused on is, it dawned on me, I'm not, excuse me, I'm not motivated. I'm a little dehydrated. I preached 4 times yesterday, or over the 3 times on Sunday, once on Saturday. I was like, I'm not motivated because I was just trying to. I had small goals, and they're not motivating. Like, I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. I'm trying to get back down to like 300. I was like, I'm trying to, like, when I shoot videos for the church, my face to not look so fat. And when I'm standing up in worship services, for when my shirt hangs down, that it doesn't go around my belly. Like, I can still be fat, but it needs to at least, I'm wearing super baggy shirts. I want it to at least not like wrap around my belly. So, relatively mild goals. And, the ambiguous, get a little healthier. I'm like, okay, these goals are not firing me up. These goals are not going to lead me. So I was like, I need bigger goals, and I need to model someone. So I picked The Rock. Now, I tried to pick, I was like, let me pick someone who I have the potential to look a little more like. So I was like, oh, Chris Hemsworth, he's Thor. That's pretty cool. It just didn't fit. And so I mentally tried on a few different people in terms of like, well, what if, and it just, for whatever reason, it came down to The Rock. I think part of it was I looked up his stats online, and I read, like, there's so many stats on how tall, how big he is. And so I've realized, I've learned later that these stats were inaccurate. But at the time I looked up that he was 6'6", I'm 6'7", and he was like 285 pounds. And I wanted to get to like 275. That was like if I could get to 275, that would be amazing. And I basically said, oh, okay, I'm very similar. I'm an inch taller than him, so maybe I can't be as big and muscular as he is, but I'm an inch taller, and I want to be 10 pounds lighter. So whether I can hit that or not, it's like the whole shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you're amongst the stars. I use that mentality. I'm going to model The Rock. In fact, I have a picture of him right here, where you see all this stuff right here in the back and down here. That's a lightsaber, but dude, he'd be a crazy Jedi. And so, and there's more right there, right there. I got all this Rock stuff because I just started buying Rock stuff. My phone screen was The Rock. I was going and seeing all the Rock movies. I was literally every year for my birthday, I would just have a Rock marathon and watch all the Rock a bunch of Rock movies. And yeah, and so that really unlocked it by going from, I'm trying to get a little healthier, I'm trying to eat a little better, I'm trying to make some little improvements in my life, to saying, no, I'm going to look like The Rock. I'm going to be The Rock with hair. Now I have the hair. And so that was a huge one for me. Now that's changed over time. I went through a period of when I was really looking through, so it kind of started, the influence kind of started. I still love The Rock. I'm always going to be grateful to The Rock. He's who got me started. He's who helped me lose that first 50 pounds, really get into bodybuilding. Couple other influences. Sebum, not so much as an actual influence, but I saw someone in a Reddit, I think, comment say, imagine, now this is going to sound arrogant, but realize it for how I use it to help me. There's a couple little things I heard that helped too. One was, someone said in a Reddit thread, imagine, or just think, there's someone out there with better genetics than Sebum who's just sitting on the couch eating Dorito chips and not even bodybuilding. And I was like, oh man. Now, by no means do I think I have better genetics than Sebum. I don't know. Not, that's neither here nor there. And obviously genetics isn't the only thing. It takes the dedication and all the stuff that he's put in to be a 6-time, basically the modern day Arnold Schwarzenegger, 6-time champion in the classic physique. So not trying to be disrespectful, him or arrogant, I just had this thought of it made me think of wasted potential. I should really go for this. So that's where I really committed to bodybuilding, because I was kind of here, but I didn't want to hurt myself. And how big do I don't want to get too big. I know I'm modeling The Rock, but I don't really want to be that big, do I? And I was obsessed with I can't afford, it cost me $5,000 a month just to eat that much, to be that big. And so I was getting stuck in my own head. And so I heard that, I'm okay, I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to go because I want to see, I owe it to my genetic potential. I'm huge, 6'7", broad shoulders, long torso. I'm let me see how far I can take this. And then a couple months into that, I heard something. I think he said it as a negative, calm down, but it was positive for me. I heard someone say in one of the motivational videos I was listening to, I think he was basically trying to say, stop looking at the Instagram influencer models as inspiration. He said, stop looking at these hot girls and beautiful manly men on Instagram. I don't know. I think that's how he said it. Something along those lines. He said, you look at this, whether you're a guy looking, want to be as big as the guy, or a girl want to be as slim and whatever is the girl. So what we don't realize is it would take you 5 years to get to that point. 5 years of dedication on eating and working out. And I literally stopped my workout. I said, whoa, wait a minute. You're telling me that with only 5 years of dedication, I could look like that? Well, heck yeah, sign me up. And so that was another one. One more thing that was kind of inspiring is there was this bodybuilder. He was eating some chicken, and they asked him, "What are you doing?" And he didn't say I'm eating or I'm eating chicken. He said, like, I'm intaking protein or just something stupid like that. And I was like, oh, okay, the level of dedication. If I can have that level of dedication where I don't even consider eating as this joyful act where I'm going to just overindulge and be so full, rub my belly at the end of it, like, man, I ate too much, but that was pretty good, but I regret eating that much. If it was a process of I'm intaking protein, intaking fuel for my body, if I can be that intense for 5 years, I could look like these Instagram influencers. Well, heck yeah, sign me up. So I think I'm more than 2. I'm probably around 3 years. Because I've been here for 2 years. They're a year. I need to add this up sometime, see how far I am. Because I want to see what I actually look like after 5 years. And my story has been one of progressing in terms of intensity, like slowly, every so often having moments like that. So like back in February of this year, 2025, I upped my workouts. I was, realizing I was spending far too much time on my phone in between sets and just talking. I recorded some group workouts with Tristan, my buddy Tristan. He'll be on the show here soon. And I was like, oh, I just walk around and talk. I'm like, so I've started upping, there's, a bunch of different things. And then I kind of come into Alan Richson. So that's after I get here, and I'm here for a little bit. We're shooting a short film for an outreach we were doing, and I kind of come across Alan. I know who he is because back in New York, I watched season 1 of Reacher. I've been watching Titans, and so I knew who he was kind of periphery, and I come across this Instagram video. It's this hilarious video where he's promoting trace minerals, which I actually take now. And he's like going on. I'm like, this guy's so funny. I was showing Tristan, and I go, this is that guy from Reacher. And it's hilarious. So I start looking at stuff, and I start really getting in. And so he kind of replaces The Rock a little bit. Again, no one's ever going to truly replace The Rock. Like I said, I owe like 50 pounds of weight loss, and who knows how much because of the muscle gain and getting into everything to him. But then I start to really be able to identify to him. And then there's some other things too, like that just helped me with some of the acting, some of the other stuff that really helps me. And I think that kind of helped me get through a period. And I still absolutely love Alan Richson, and he's been a huge influence. And right now, I feel like it's been, maybe a year and a half, 2 years where it's been more of an Alan Richson. Jason Momoa also has been, big influence, probably because of the hair. And you can't argue with his, Aquaman 1 body. Aquaman 2 is ridiculous, that stupid muscle suit. But, and so currently, though, I'm starting to feel a little bit of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger vibe. And I was telling my wife, I go, hey, I have some really bad news. So she gets all nervous. She's like, I don't know how this, this is probably going to affect you. It's going to be probably negative. And so she's like all nervous. What's he about to say? And I said, I feel like that kind of model influence is kind of moving over to Arnold. So I'm probably going to be watching a lot more Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. And she's like, oh, geez. She goes, it's both worse, and it's not as bad and worse than I originally thought. And so, I'm going on a trip this week. I'm leaving tomorrow to First Form Summer Smash, and I'm going to be at the hotels. I'm going to be just watching Arnold movies. So we watched Predator the other night, and she was like, that was horrible. And I'm like, I'm going to be watching all these Arnold movies on this trip. I'm going to go back to the hotel every night and put on an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and just see how many I can watch. It's like I'm gonna, start picking up his workouts and using, as inspiration. So this idea of modeling can be really powerful because it gives you that extra motivation. One, it gives you a clearer goal. I want to look like The Rock. Literally, my goal for years, and actually it still does, and it will until the day I die probably. My fitness goal, it's called Rock Body. It's not, that's never changed. It's literally Rock Body because I want to look like The Rock as much as I can. You know what I mean? Please, hair don't fall out. So it was huge. Like I said, I lost about 50 pounds, probably closer, who knows how, because I also put on muscle. different people I've used at different times. Alan for a while was a big, and still is, but inspiration. Right now, like I said, I'm looking more like at CBum and Arnold and classic bodybuilders, because I now am to the point where I'm like, okay, I feel like I've lost enough weight. I still have weight to lose, obviously, but I feel like I'm at a point where I can now legitimately work from. I'm at base camp, okay? I've flown to the mountain, all these different things, all these preparations. I've got the money, bought the tickets, flown the mountain. I'm now at the base camp where I can really start training as a bodybuilder. And I remember I talked about in the first episode where I'd sit in the gym in Planet Fitness in my sweatpants and a t-shirt, holding the dumbbells on my legs and just looking in the mirror and just being like, I don't want to be here. Like, I want this stage, not the gym. I want to be at this stage, and I had this imaginary stage in my head that's where I want to be, and that's where I want to work from. Well, that's where I currently am, like 3.5 years later. That's where I currently am, is I'm now at the stage I'm actually probably a little bit past it, to be honest, but I'm now at the stage where I wanted to be back when I first started, and so I'm kind of moving over a little bit more of traditional bodybuilder influences. So, Arnold, CBum, and then just, watching a bunch of like just actual, bodybuilders working out and getting inspiration on how they work out, their intensity, the moves they do. So that's kind of where I am with that. So this idea of having a goal, everyone says, have a clear goal, get laser focused. Modeling really helps because it helps you really narrow down that goal. I want to look like The Rock. Okay. Can I eat this cheeseburger covered in gravy? What are my goals? Well, to be a little healthier, right? Well, okay, maybe I won't eat the fries. I'll get I won't drink the soda, and I'll eat half the burger. Versus like, can I eat this burger covered in gravy? What are my goals? To look like The Rock. Is eating that burger going to help you look like The Rock? No. Is it going to push you away from looking like The Rock? Well, it'll make me look like him in the early scenes of that CIA movie he did in 2016. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. Okay, don't do it, right? It gives you those clear. But then the other thing it does is it gives you, like, you don't know what to do to get to where you want to be. And so when you model someone, you get clues. They leave breadcrumbs. You listen to The Rock and he talks about like how he trains and what he does. And I would watch The Rock work out or talk about him working out and be like, I'm not working out hard enough. I'm not working out enough. And I'd start to work on things, different things. So right now, I'm trying to push even further in intensity. And so I look at, I'm looking at Arnold and CBum. I'm like, oh, okay, these are guys who weren't just doing bodybuilding to be an actor like Alan Richson and, The Rock. And I guess it's art, Alan, he didn't used to work out, but now he does. Okay. Or as much, but now he does. He's probably considered a bodybuilder, at least in that sense. But now looking at these guys, because I'm trying to take it to the next level, who don't just do bodybuilding to look good on camera and, be an actor and stuff, but or actually we're going for bodybuilding titles, like I said, both with Arnold and with CBum. And so it's a whole different level. So now switching that model from Alan and The Rock to look good on camera to let's really dial this in. Let's start to look at Arnold Schwarzenegger and CBum, Chris Bumstead, to be able to really dial this in. And it led me to the point where I got to have a conversation with Chris Bumstead a few weeks back. I posted on Instagram where I got invited into a beta program of his Standard App Plus, and find myself on a Zoom call. It's a group Zoom call, but I got to come on and unmute and get to talk to Chris and ask him a question, and both him and his trainer, Justin, I believe, then answered my question like, oh, hey, Jared, thank you for the question, and begin to answer it personally. I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool. Like, that probably wouldn't have happened if I wasn't modeling, switching my model and having a model and following and taking these steps. So with that, I think that's what I want to leave us with today. We're, just under half hour, 24 minutes, so it's pretty good. This was, like I said, just wanted to be a little bit of an addendum to last week, so I really wanted to focus in on the concept of modeling, because those were really visualization and goal setting and modeling were really what I used. And really there's overlap between those, because you have to visualize the outcome, create the goals of what it's going to take to get there, and then the modeling is just to help with those goals. So yeah, like that's what I was in kind of a Jason Momoa phase, which I don't know if I'll ever leave because I love Jason Momoa. Well, let me show you. I just started getting Jason Momoa stuff. Like I've got this little keychain both of these. I got these, Aquaman keychains that I carry around. My Instagram and YouTube channel was becoming Aquaman, working on, I want to become Aquaman. I love the water. I've got the long hair and I want that physique, right? And so I've used these different things over time, you know, so from The Rock to Alan Richardson to Jason Momoa, those two were kind of together, Jason Momoa and Alan Richardson, you know, the becoming Aquaman, and then now shifting over to Arnold and Sebum to really dial it in. So who is it that you want to be like? Is it if you're a speaker, who's the speaker you'd like to be like? Find the clues in what they did. If it's your real estate agent, if it's, you know, whatever, maybe CrossFitter, find that CrossFitter who you really, I'll use the term resonate, you know, really like it works. Like I said, I tried to do Chris Hemsworth, it didn't really work, and I don't really feel that connection. Ended up being The Rock. And look and model them, like one for inspiration. Like I said, I got Rock stuff all over. My phone was Rock forever. Right now it is, I will show you if I don't have a clear page, but it's Alan Richardson on the background of my phone. And just having the models to follow after, both for inspiration as well as for those breadcrumbs of what do they do? What can I apply from how they got to where they're doing to where I want to be. So with that, I hope this episode has helped. I think we really went into some of the mindset stuff behind, you know. So like, subscribe, follow, whatever. Just make sure you catch future episodes. My next episode will probably be in a hotel room, doing an episode while at the First Forum Summer Smash. So I do plan on vlogging and posting on the Becoming Aquaman channel, which is about to turn into Iron Chaplain, Jared Elrod Iron Chaplain. It's been Jared Elrod Becoming Aquaman. But we're kind of, like I said, I'm kind of switching phases now. So it's going to be Iron Chaplain, switching the models, switching kind of the intent of some of the stuff. And so I will be vlogging, posting that, recording my workouts. I'm going to get a workout at First Form. Last year they worked out at a gym called House of Pain, whatever gym we're going to be at. I'll record those workouts and post those. Like I've been posting those again. And then I'll actually do at least one, if not multiple podcast episodes talking in the hotel room about kind of what's going on and my thoughts. And I actually have I have an 8 Mile episode I'm going to record soon that maybe I will do in the hotel, where I'm just going to spill all the things, give all my secrets, and kind of just 8 Mile this from the beginning. So yeah, that's the plan. Hope you stick around. Hope you follow wherever, you know, whether it's YouTube and you subscribe, if it's Spotify or some other podcast, and you subscribe and follow, or whatever you need to do to get notifications of future updates. And I'll see you in episode 3.